begin by acknowledging that we are in Treaty 1 territory, the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation. Our board today is composed of Richie Whitbread, who's farthest to my left. Mr. Maurice Terrian is directly to my left. My name is Harvey Diamond. The City of Winnipeg Assistant Department is represented by Rob Lucky, and our organizer and secretary is Kate Sutherland. We'll be hearing applications for revision of the assessment rules in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision have been requested are described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statement that the applicants or the assessor make at this hearing must be sworn testimony, and before making any such statements, both parties must be sworn in. Be advised that we do not accept comparative assessments which we do not consider as evidence. Our board is appointed annually by council, and we're independent of the city administration. We make our decisions on the basis of the evidence that is provided at this hearing, and we issue written orders that we mail to all parties as soon as possible. Note that our decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of Queen's Bench if the matter pertains to an application for exemption from taxation, and details of how to appeal will be included with our order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm matters to be addressed to each applicant following the applicant swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by any questions the applicant may have. The applicant may then provide his testimony followed by any questions, and each party will be given an opportunity to summarize if they wish to do so. Once the evidence application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will be brief for each matter on the docket today. The session will end after all applications have been heard, and we will then cease the hearing. We will deliberate in private, and we'll issue a written order by written mail as soon as possible. The information today will be recorded before prior to a public hearing, public recording, and we can swear the parties in. Thank you.
Robert Lucky.
Do you swear that the evidence you represent is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I
You swear? Say your name.
Marcel Navarro.
Do you swear that the evidence you represent is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Mr. Lucky, the first matter on the agenda today is 710 Gray Street, and you can proceed when you're ready.
Thank you. 710 Gray Street is file number 19-3591, roll number 02060792700. We have two buildings, 3 stories. Built in 1975, there's 60 suites. The second page is the site plan. This is the Valley Gardens area. I believe schools in the area, good convenient location. The third page is street view picture. It shows the exterior has been redone at least, and I was looking at other pictures. The landscaping was in the process of being redone when this was taking place. The next page is 2016 permit. A lot of work. The permit was for $900,000. Number 2 page is all the returns are up to date, and there's no sales of record. Page 3, we have a model income and expense. We have 31 bedrooms, 32 bedrooms, so a good suite mix. The average monthly rent is $932.16, and that's it's not just the rent, that's the total income divided by the number of suites. So that number includes parking, laundry, any kind of income. This like I said, model, vacancy, expense ratio, and cap rate. Our NOIs are very close, and I guess the major difference is cap rate. I think that's about it, so if there's any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them.
Thank you. Mr. Navarro, do you have any questions of the assessor?
Yes, just to confirm, everything is modeled. You've made no adjustments to this?
I haven't made any adjustments. Somebody could have. We review many of the buildings before they go out, but I don't know if it was reviewed or not. But as I said, the model's very accurate in this case. We're very close in NOI, and
Now, regarding the capitalization rate, 5.25, now the city has an effective year of 1975. You've documented the permit details here, and it says $900,000 worth of work. Now, I've also looked into this. So they constructed a canopy over the 3rd floor. There are new rooftop units, and they did quite a bit of landscaping also. That's not documented in here in particular, but I know that there was landscaping done at the time also. Would you say that there was an overall shift in the effective date because of this work?
I think it has a new envelope too.
Okay.
Looks like from the picture.
Yeah, I believe they might have done some.
We didn't change the effective date.
Right.
We couldn't. Whoever the assessor then inspected it chose not to change the effective date.
Now, in terms of the split of all of the work that was done, do you know how much of it was landscaping related? How much of it was rooftop unit related? Doesn't really detail that.
Well, the thing is that they only need permits for certain types of work.
Right.
And the permits never typically don't overestimate the work done. So there's mechanical and electrical work done. I don't know what that is. I don't know.
Okay, those are my questions.
Mr. Rupert, any questions to the assessor? No? Thanks. Mr. Terrian, do you have any questions to the assessor?
Yes, I have one in respect to the the mailer, but there's no page number, so I'm looking at the first page and I'm looking on the income, the total revenue. Total revenue on that page, whatever number it is, and that's after deductions for vacancy. So that would be 606,619, and I see the actual EGI is 653 on the model, because that was after the vacancy, and as you indicated, that your income includes everything, so I'm assuming that's the same. So that seems to be a little high. Andy, did you take a look at this?
Looks like the vacancies are really high too. So it could be that there was some vacant suites during renovation. 67, 328 divided by...
Anyway, I guess we'll.
It looks like about 10% vacancy, so that could be the difference. Because there's 100,000 in subsidies as well.
Yeah, because I was just trying to, I always take a look at the mailer.
Sure.
Because that seems to be a well-documented mailer, although on the expense side, it brings the balance close to zero. So I'll leave it at that. I'll see what the appellant has to say about that. Thank you.
So, Mr. Lucky, I'm just wondering, how did the model choose the cap rate for this property? On what basis, do you know how that was?
Age.
Age?
So 1975 and newer is 5%.
Okay. And when does the age change, or when does the cap rate change? 1970, you said?
75.
75? And so 74, what would the cap rate be on the 1974 building?
It would be 5 1/4.
5.25?
Or 5.3.
5.3, so this basically just made it to the
It was just lucky.
lucky for, or maybe unlucky, depending on who you're talking to.
Well, there's got to be a cutoff somewhere.
For sure. Okay, thank you. So Mary, go ahead.
Okay. This is 17 Gray Street. Again, on page 2, you can see an overhead picture of the property. There are 2 buildings here, and also outdoor parking. Page 3, some additional pictures, and on page 4, you can see a general view of the area. So this is east of Raleigh and Gateway. Again, the building was built in 1975, 60 units, including 31 bedroom units and 32 bedroom units, 67 outdoor stalls, and it is zoned RMFS. Highest and best use is the current use. For the purpose of this report, we are using this strictly for assessment purposes. And there are several approaches to value. The one that we're focusing on is the income approach. On page 8, we have effective gross income of $631,737. The vacancy that we've applied is 7.6. The stabilized expense for the subject properties are $298,435. That's an expense ratio of 47.2%, and includes stabilized repair and maintenance expense of $919.98 per suite. The net operating income for April 1, 2018 is $333,302, and that has been capitalized at 5.75. You can see our little chart there in terms of how we break down the properties and the capitalization rates that we apply for those breakdowns. In summary, we are asking for a reduction to $5,797,000. In the appendix, you'll find the workup here, and I can take you through this workup. So again, we go with site-specific analysis of the property, not a model. So we've looked at 3 years of income and expenses. We've stabilized the gross at $675,063. We've applied 7.6% vacancy to this, an effective gross of $623,469. We've added laundry income, parking income, and miscellaneous income to that, giving us an effective gross income of $631,737. And again, we've stabilized 3 years of income and expenses, so the expense portion of it, We have stabilized expenses of $298,435. That's 47.2%. Net operating income of $333,302. And again, we've capitalized that at 5.75%, giving us a value of $5,796,550 or $5,797,000 rounded. In addition to that, we've also included the income and expenses for the 3 years that we've also looked at. And that is my brief, and I am open for questions.
Any questions, Mr. Lucky?
Mainly the vacancy. On your first agenda item, the spreadsheet, the vacancy line item 5. In 2015, it was 1.9%, and then 11, and then down to 10. Isn't this when all the work occurred? Like, is it an extraordinary vacancy for that time?
There could be, that may be a reason. I don't think we looked into that. We certainly didn't look into the 2018. We don't have 2019 yet, so we don't know if it continued on. That said, from my understanding of the renovations were to the envelope. There was some wiring into the rooftop units, so I don't know how that would have affected the vacancy. That's just a question mark. I don't know. I don't pretend to know. So we've documented some vacancy. We've adjusted for it. And certainly, if we could look into 2018, that would probably give us the answer. But as I said, we've stabilized it at 7.6%. And in the end, we're not that far apart from each other anyway.
Well, I guess on the repair and maintenance documentation, there's 20,000 in painting, 10,000 in plumbing. Looks like another 27,000 in painting, and then extraordinary repairs and maintenance, which we don't have a breakdown. That's
Right.
231,000.
And, you know, given the age of the building at 1975, I would say that this is probably more of a cyclical thing that's going on. And they're probably repairing blocks of suites. So I wouldn't say that the vacancy is out of line.
Okay, no further questions.
Mr. Whitbread, any questions of the applicant?
Yeah, following that line of thinking, I look at total repair and maintenance for 306,000 on, I think it's page 2 of the mail. You see that line? Bottom of the line before the total repair and maintenance building.
$231?
Well, that's the extraordinary.
Yeah.
Below that, you have your total at 306,341.
Yeah.
I can't reconcile that to the 120,000 on your running totals year over year. You show an average of 120. I don't see in 2017, I don't see 306,000. I see 140,000. Am I missing something here? They should match year over year, shouldn't they?
They should.
Yeah. So you're a couple $100,000 out on that
Yeah.
2017 repair and maintenance number.
I'm just looking at the next year, just to make sure.
You're talking about 2016 you're looking at?
Yeah.
That's even more significant variance, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
2 million down to
Yeah.
170. Again, each year should reflect the mailers from the owner.
No, because we have some staff that go over the line items for, so we typically get, in addition to this, additional information on what the actual repairs that are being done. So what's happened here is that a lot of those have been excluded because they are capital work, not repair and maintenance. So you can see the $2 million plus in.
That doesn't strike me as maintenance.
No, that's capital.
Yeah.
And that's why we've adjusted it to.
But certainly 231
Yeah,
would be maintenance.
Exactly.
That's for 60 suites, that's within the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
So, does that mean in preparing your document, people have changed information from the mailers that the owners have sent in?
well,
That's what I think,
So-
just heard you say that.
yeah, so we would have to find out exactly why they're listing $2 million worth of repair and maintenance. And we are clear that it is extraordinary repair and maintenance.
I'm more concerned about the 306 to 120 because that's more realistic. Someone has gone in and changed what was sent in on the mailer to prepare your document. And
Oh.
Marcello, we have sat here
Oh, it's,
and we've
Okay.
heard applicants accuse the city of doing the same thing.
yes, no, this hasn't been adjusted by all of this group.
This document that you've prepared?
Oh, this document?
Yes.
Yes,
It's
yes.
different than the mailer.
Yes, so there is $2 million worth of work. for
Don't worry
example.
about that one.
Yeah.
Let's worry about
Yeah.
the 304,000 one. It's less egregious than the other one, but it's more reasonable to understand it's not capital, probably not capital at 200,000, 300,000. 2 million, it's probably capital.
Probably capital, yeah.
But not 200 or 300,000.
No, I think when we're adjusting it downwards like that, we've actually taken the steps to find out what there was actually in terms of repair and maintenance.
But no notes, as we've seen in the
No
past.
notes, no notes. So again, if we included the $300,000, it would be saying that we have actually less net operating income.
So the question I have then is how do we put any faith in your net operating income?
Correct. Again, I think we're close enough to the model that I think what we've done here in terms of adjustment is fair. But yes, I see your point.
No further questions.
Mr. Terry, do you have any questions?
Under item on page, you guys are not putting numbers, you just try to give us a...
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Both of you are the same, so I'm not blaming anybody here. On your workup. On 25, on the waste and snow removal, you're using the average, and I don't know what is done usually, but I sort of get the impression that this varies. Because 2017 was 3529, you're using 4346. So I believe when we're talking about actuals, you always use actuals. And because you know the snow stuff, you're stuck with that 1 year you were another.
Yeah.
So I wondered, why is this one averaged?
So, I'll give you an example here. Look at line item 14, which is insurance.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, in line item 14, we use the most current insurance rate.
Yeah.
Okay? And we know that because insurance rates tend to be,
Yeah, you have no choice.
yeah, and they tend to be fairly stable. We know what's gonna happen. The insurance agency will inform the owner of exactly how much their insurance rate will change. With snowfall, we don't know. It's hard to predict, so that's why we average it out rather than taking the most
You
recent.
do this all the time?
Yeah.
You do this all the time? Okay, that was really, I'm a little bit interested to see what was the
So,
previous thing.
it's because, you know, one
That's
year
what
you
you
may
do.
have
Okay.
30 centimeters of snow, and the next year you may have a
Okay.
meter of snow. And then we'll take an average of 3, if we included 5 years, we would have taken 5 years.
And then I'll just pull your leg a little bit here. I see on the city assessment, you've already put it at 5 1/4. So you've made it a little better already?
Sorry?
It was, the city's at 5, and you showed the city column at 5 1/4.
Oh, I thought it was at 5 1/4.
No, it's at 5.
We're either 5 or 5.3. This would be 5.
Oh.
Yeah, so anyway, that's,
Okay, that's interesting you say that, because generally the information that we take from the city is taken from the mailers that are released in, I would say, June. So the city releases a value.
okay.
It's a preliminary value.
Yeah, it's a yeah.
Most likely that's where we would have taken it from.
Oh,
So there could have been an adjustment afterwards.
because on the city's appeal, it's 5.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
So your NOIs are pretty close, and the biggest difference is cap rates, and the city's got a cap rate of 5%, and we already asked Mr. Lucky about that. And you got a 5.75 cap rate, I'm asking you how you get that amount. to get that.
So we tend to, break down our apartments based on age. So you can see on page 9 that we have the chart there.
Page 9 of your cap rate study,
Page 9 of my grade.
did you read?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we have 5 standard categories. Pre-1946, you can see the range there. 46 to 59, 60 to 74, 75 to 97. That is the one that we're looking at right here. So even if the effective age of the property changed by 10 to 15 years because of the improvements that they've made in capital repairs, and this is along the lines of the questioning that I was asking the assessor to begin with regarding, was there a change in the effective age? Because there was work done. But that said, even if we did change the effective age of that property, we're still talking about a block of properties that are going from 1975 to 1997 at 5.75.
Okay, so I see these numbers, and I gotta tell you, I haven't sat in a lot of Altus appeals, so I'm not aware of your cap rates and how you derived them. I was gone for a while, so. So I guess the other panel members here probably have, or are acquainted with it. How do these numbers get chosen? I mean, I can see them here, but where do they come from?
So they're partly based on observations of sales that we've taken, plus we've also looked at compression rates from the last cycle. So we had a set of rates in the last cycle, and if you open up your capitalization rate report,
Okay.
you can see in page 2 of the cap rate report, we give you the change from the previous cycle to this cycle. Now, we've stratified them slightly different than we did last cycle. As you can see in block 3, the stratification in the previous cycle was 1960 to 1998, 6 plus, 1 to 5 in terms of stories. Now we've essentially we've stratified it based on the age exclusively from 1975 to 1997. But, so, I mean, that is essentially how we do it. And in terms of, you know, the rest of the report, we also get into the reporting agencies and how they've seen shifts in the market. You can see that on page 4. And again, on page 5B, we're also looking at vacancy by unit type, vacancy by rental range, vacancy by age. And then we get into our own workups of the sales that we looked at. Supplementary information on each one. But I mean, in terms of also the cutoff, on page 1, you can also see that we changed the cutoff year from 1975 by the assessor to 1980. We get into an explanation of how we cut off the ages. That's basically the gist of it. That's the Coles Notes version.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that's my question. So
I actually have some redirect based
Okay.
on the cap rate study.
go ahead.
I'd like to hand these out.
Okay. You want to take us through it?
So what I've done here is summarize the repair and maintenance used for all the cap rate properties in this study. And I've compared them to the properties under appeal. And I guess the question would be, is it fair to use repair and maintenance half of the average for the appeal properties? Are we comparing apples and oranges? That would be the question.
I would say that specifically with apartments, one of the reasons that we do site specific is because every apartment functions differently.
Right.
And to find those trends within this particular block of properties is, in our opinion, difficult, which is one of the reasons that we don't criticize you, but criticize the model and its task at predicting some of these variables. So what we see in the marketplace in terms of expenses, repair and maintenance in particular, every apartment building is functioning differently. And you're going to have two buildings that were built in the same year, and they'll have completely different repair and maintenance depending on what was done to them over the years. So maybe it's not a reflection of what's happening, but what hasn't been reported. In some cases, maybe improvements were made to the properties that weren't recognized, and it performs a little bit more efficiently than other buildings. It's a very difficult thing, I think, to task the city with in terms of trying to find a trend in this, because these buildings tend to perform completely different from each other. I hope that's an explanation.
Sure. So by having lower repair and maintenance, if the repair and maintenance was higher, would these cap rates be higher or lower, I guess is the question.
So if the repair maintenance, obviously, if you adjusted that and it went up, then the trend would be that the capitalization rate would go down, right? But the point being that all of these buildings perform differently. So
it's just a coincidence that the cap rate properties are typically half of the appeal properties, or they're just different properties, that's why it's...
they're different properties.
Okay. No further questions.
Okay, I think you made your point. Any questions by board members on follow-up on that?
No.
Okay. Okay, good. So thank you. We'll proceed with our next item. So we're next dealing with 965 Concordia Avenue. Again, Mr. Lucky, when you're ready to proceed.
There's an issue with compliance.
Okay. You deal with that first thing?
The issue is that this property is on the same site as 714 Luelda, and together they make a project called Concord Gardens. And our position is that by submitting combined mailers, it makes it impossible for us to do a site-specific assessment for this property.
Okay, so the position is that it was inadequate reporting, not that you didn't receive reporting then.
Right.
Mr. Mayor, any questions?
I don't.
Okay, do you have a position?
I believe that this is how the owner has been reporting this. They consider this one economic unit. What we've traditionally done with this is that we've taken the income for both of the properties and in the end sliced off half of the net operating income to account for the other building and then applied our capitalization rate. I don't think we've varied from our position in previous years, and again, they are providing the income expenses. They consider this one economic unit. This is why they've reported it the way they have.
Okay. Any questions? You have any questions, Mr. Lucky?
No.
Board members, any questions of the assessor?
Yeah, just one. Yeah. I'm looking at the last page of your document. That looks like a split between the two roles, does it not? Unless I'm missing something.
It does.
Pardon?
It does look like it.
It does. And would that give you sufficient information for 965 Concordia in order to complete your work? And from which you typically would use the model to create a workup anyway, wouldn't you?
Well, the model makes an assessment, and we'd like to, where possible, check against the
Yeah,
actuals.
yeah. Did you prepare this brief yourself, including your workup?
I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure that I did this brief, yes. We did trade some, but I'm pretty sure I did this one.
So I'm trying to find when you would have received this document from the owner. I see that you sent a letter May 3rd, but then I don't see a date stamp on it anywhere. I mean, this is all in your document, is it not? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. It kind of weakens our position.
It does.
Are you still maintaining your position on the basis of the fact that the last page does seem to apportion out the income and expenses of both properties?
No, I'm
Okay, so then we can just proceed then, Mr. Lucky.
You can what?
I think we could just proceed, Mr. Lucky just decided that he's not pursuing.
not. I didn't notice this
Yeah.
breakdown of
If
I
I may
didn't
add,
hear him say that.
if I may
Oh, he
add,
did, yeah.
if I may add, I didn't even know that we had this. I went over these documents. I don't even remember seeing this page.
Well, in all fairness, I know that both of you work under a lot of pressure, and we're not pointing any fingers at
No,
anybody.
no.
Sometimes cool heads prevail, and we know that you both work under a lot of pressure, and there's no, it's not influencing us at all. I want you to know.
I'm not.
No, it's good that it was
Yeah.
brought to light.
Yeah.
I honestly.
And I need to look ahead, Mr. Whitbread found it.
I looked at the front end, saw it all together.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had Luelda last week, and it was not an issue, because we had the same
No.
chart.
No,
The
they've
same
gone
chart.
to lengths to separate them.
Okay, so that's fine, then we'll just proceed then. with
Sure,
the-
you've withdrawn it, have you?
Yeah, yes.
Yes. Okay then. 965 Concordia is file number 19-2973, roll number 020611610000. As I said, this is a portion of roughly half of Concord Gardens Limited. We have a 1976, 3 buildings, 2-story. The second page that shows where the dot is, that's this property, and to the right or east of it is the second half, and to the left is I forget the school, but it's a high school and huge recreational complex.
East Elmwood.
What's it called?
East Elmwood, is it?
I don't know the name of this. And then the third page shows these are we call them garden or walk-up garden apartments. People have their own balconies or patios on the main, and fair amount of land and a lot of recreational area, pool, whatnot. The next page I guess this is pending the 4.8. The city appealed the previous decision of $4,862,000. So on page number 3 is the breakdown, and we have 12 one-bedrooms, 32 two-bedrooms, and 16 three-bedrooms for a total of 60. And this is the total, as I said before, income divided by the unit of 890. Model income expenses. We arrive at a value of $5,730,000 or 95.5 per unit. And I don't know if I could. So this was the decision on the other half. Would that be a call? I mean, it's hard to trust some of these people in here, but.
I was there. I know I was there.
This is the previous decision on the other half.
The other end inside in.
Mr. Navarro, what do you have an opposition to that being sent out? It's,
I haven't had a chance to look at it.
Well, whatever way it carries.
yeah, because, you know, we have to make our own decision.
Sure, of course you
Basically, even, we might have some people who sat on it, but even still.
Yeah, I don't know
you
if
know,
it's been appealed to the municipal board.
well, it's just heard a few days ago, are you saying, or is it from
This
last?
is back in January 27th.
Yeah, you know, I think that's not pertinent, because if you're gonna carry forward whatever was decided then, they could be wrong, we could be wrong, but basically, I think we have to, I don't think we should be swayed by decisions that have been made.
Sorry, the city appealed it?
We appealed the previous 2018.
Okay, but did you appeal this one?
No.
Okay.
Well, obviously, I think he likes it, because he wants to, I think that Mr. Navarro should have an opportunity of bringing forth this evidence. I don't think we should be influenced by what's already been heard. We're a board that we're supposed to consider the evidence that we hear. We may hear different evidence, and I don't think we
It
should
was
be,
a different
we shouldn't be,
agent.
no, I understand, we shouldn't be clouded by our.
Okay.
Okay, so I would say that we don't want to see that. Okay? Go ahead, Bill.
Okay. Any event, the value of $5,730,000 is strongly supported.
Okay? And that's your evidence?
It is.
Okay? Any questions, Mr. Navarro?
I think the only issue here is the capitalization rate, so I don't think we have,
Any questions on capitalization rate?
no, I don't.
Mr. Whipper, any questions to the assessor?
No, thank you.
Mr. Terry, any
I'm
questions?
fine, thank you.
Okay, I see the city has a 5% cap, and that's only on the age of the building? Basis of the 5%?
It is, it's the age, 1976, and our model is actually lower than the applicant, so I would accept their NOI.
And they probably accept your NOI. So, the next, I understand the garden apartments require a lot more maintenance than other types of apartments.
That's what we're told.
I'm told that too, and I've heard it from other.
I mean, a
applicants.
lot of the position is that the roofs should be included in maintenance because there's lots of roofs. We don't agree with that. That's being capitalized as repair and maintenance.
But you have pools and all kinds of other things in these type of buildings.
Pools require maintenance. A lot of buildings have.
And would that not influence the cap rate of a buyer of that property, knowing that he's gonna have particularly more expenses to operate that building than a property that wouldn't be classified as a garden apartment?
Things like, buildings like these also, I mean, it affects the rent. If you have a pool, then you should be able to get more rent.
Yeah, but looking at the rent with 3 bedrooms and everything, it's not really that high.
No, it's not.
Yeah, so it's not really affecting the rent in a good way necessarily, based on other apartments that I've seen of similar size and
Right.
condition
The, there's no breakdown, but I mean, often in buildings like this, the utilities are covered by the tenants too.
Okay.
Things like heat.
and. Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Navarro, you can proceed.
Then this is 965 Concordia. Again, on page 2, you can see a picture. These are garden style walk-ups. Again, these are not joined by hallways, so that is, they function almost like separate units, which is why many of these garden units in Winnipeg are actually condos as opposed to individual apartments. You can see the overhead shot on page 3 in terms of its location. I'll just ask you to flip to the actual workup in the appendix. So what I did in this situation is essentially what the previous agent did in the last cycle, which was taking the total income and then simply cutting it in half at the end. So we had a potential of 1,247,962, vacancy 1%, effective gross of 1,235,127. We've added parking income and miscellaneous income to this. That gives us an effective gross of $1,282,591. We have 3 years of stabilized expenses here. We have an expense ratio of 53.9%, total expenses of $691,940, net operating income of $590,651. By half, that is $295,325. You can see in the last page of what the assessor's brief included, it was actually $264. We went by the information that I had at hand. I actually don't even remember seeing this page, so I don't know if that was sent in at a later time or we got a separate package. I don't know. I simply didn't see this page. That said, we went with slightly higher net operating income at $295,325, and we applied a 5.75% capitalization rate, which is, again, consistent with the capitalization rates that we've used in our cap rate reports for all of our apartment buildings. That gives us a value of $5,136,094, and that is $5,136,000.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Any questions, Mr. Looking?
Sorry. No questions.
Mr. Rubin, any questions? No. Mr. Terry, do you have any questions?
Well, looking at the maintenance costs, repair and maintenance, and you're using 143,000, I would assume. I guess you better cut the 286 in half. On the city's information, the maintenance was at 171.8, which is about $2,800 in the maintenance. So I'm just trying to make sense of this. You're at $2,383 per suite?
Yeah.
On this building? So, pretty high. So I guess that's my only question.
So we've looked at 5 years in this case. That's the reason why we've stabilized it at 286. However, again, you have to remind yourself that these are garden units. They are individual units as opposed to common units within a regular style apartment building. So when you have to fix the roof or the fireplace or do repairs, it's very individualized repairs for these units, and they are intensive. So I would say it differs from a regular apartment building.
And so you're basically saying that the two buildings are quite similar, and quite similar in the repairs and everything.
That's right.
Same number of apartments and everything.
Yeah. I would say that you would find consistency in garden units throughout the city.
Okay, that's all that you
I don't have any questions, thank you. Okay, next one with the next matter, which is 1133 Kimberly. Selecting when you're ready.
1133 Kimberly is file number 19-2526, roll number 02062553000. We have a 1973 three-story. Uh, 23 suites. We have a model rent of $855, model vacancy expenses, cap rate of 5.3. And if you keep just, it would be like page 7, there's a site plan. It shows the corner of Kimberly and Molson. And then the next page is the street view of the building. 3 stories, looks like without basement. And the next page is the Board of Revision decision. For 18, it was reduced to $1,971,000. I think that's all I have. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mayor, any questions?
Yes. In terms of your capitalization rate, this is age-related.
It is. It's at the top end of the range. I think it's from the 40s up until 1974. So 2 years before turning into 5.
But this is not what I would classify as a small apartment building. I mean, it's over 20 suites. However, it's not a 60 or 70 suite apartment building. And it's also a 3-story walk-up. Is there a elevator in it?
I've never been in the building.
And this is located in East Kildonan. Would you say that there's less risk in a building like this? A smaller, older building?
Well, it's it would appear that it's a good building at masonry, and it's located just behind the Concordia Hospital. So a great location for staff. It's all good, I think, the way I look at it.
Now, I'm looking at your cap rate report on page 5, and I'm noticing the high-rise rates on some of the reporting agencies that range between 5 and 6, 5 and 5.75, 4.75 and 5.75, but that is for high-rise apartments. Now, in terms of high-rise, they're suggesting rates between 5 and 6, 5 and 5.75, 4.75 and 5.75. And yet, in terms of low-rise, they're not making any adjustments either for the most part. Collier's just saying 5 and 6, 5 and 5.75 for Cushman Wakefield. It's your interpretation that there's also no difference between the risk of a high-rise apartment and a low-rise?
I'm not sure what you mean by risk.
So would it be riskier to own a high-rise apartment versus a low-rise? No? Okay. So not even the greater amount of units wouldn't provide less risk in a high-rise?
Well, I mean, all the buildings have different degrees of risk. It's usually the risk is taken up by rent, vacancy, location. This is like I said, a masonry building located right next to a hospital. The suite mix is good. It's 1 and 2 bedrooms. Honestly, like there would be a large pool of people that would be able to buy a building at this price. The cap rate could be lower as far as I'm concerned.
No more questions?
Mr. Chairman, do you have any questions of the assessor?
Yeah, I looked at page 3, and I again looked at your income, and I looked at the last page at the end, and the income was 231,333, and I see that you're at 229,930 on the EGI, which to me is the comparison. On the other hand, on the expense side, on the maintenance and decorating, that's about $4,000 per suite. Have you analyzed this in relation to what the model gave you?
For this type of building, well, if you look at the Altus cap rate sales, the average is 600. The buildings of this vintage age range between 332 and a high of 1,003. Our thought is that for this type of building, anything much over $1,000 repair and maintenance is most likely either catch-up or capital. So if this was reviewed, somebody would look at it and see that $4,000 repair and maintenance is capital. There's a fair amount of capital in there. So if, like I said, if it was reviewed, I think our opinion would be that the model is very accurate.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Whitbread, any questions of the assessor?
Just one. I'm trying to reconcile the owner's mailer at square footage 17,558 versus your 21,948. That's a 4,390 square foot differential. Like 4 suites, 5 suites. I'm missing something in this. Have you looked at that?
I guess the short answer is no. I don't know what they mean by leasable area. Like they could be saying that if the suites are 700 square feet, it would be 700 times. Our gross floor area is the exterior dimensions. So it would include all the common area, that type of thing.
Stairwells, that sort of thing.
Right, but like I said, I don't know how they arrived at their number.
Yeah. So it didn't.
Our number is
Trigger
taken
anything.
from the blueprints.
Yeah. And you go outside to outside?
We do the total outside dimension.
Yeah.
It's a unit of measurement that is just rough.
Mr. Navarro, maybe it'll shed some light on it.
Yeah.
It's fairly significant from a revenue point.
Right. I think we're talking a different method of measuring.
Possibly.
Yeah.
It just struck me as it was leasable.
Right.
Leasable square feet. Okay, no further questions.
And I don't have any questions.
Just to answer your question, so I believe what they're doing is giving you the leasable area of the suite, which come out to about 739 square feet per unit.
Thanks.
And we don't dispute what the assessor is saying, actually we've gone with that, which is the total envelope of the building.
Yeah, I glanced through yours and I couldn't find your square footage, but no problem.
So 1133 Kimberly, as you can see in the first picture, this is not air conditioned, these are window units. A lot of the amenities that you would find in more modern buildings are not there. It is a walk-up. On a smaller site. So I'll just ask you to turn to the appendix and the workup on the appendix. So, again, we've looked at 3 years. We have a potential of $232,251, 1.5% vacancy. We've added laundry and parking income, giving us an effective gross of $234,779. In terms of the repair and maintenance, we've stabilized them at $135,471, 57.7%. As you can see, we did not take 2017 into account. We looked more at the previous 4 years and came out to an average, or we stabilized it at $44,073. Net operating income of $99,308, and we've capitalized that at 6%, and that is consistent again with our capitalization rates that we use in our capitalization rate report. Indicated value is $1,655,133. And I'm open for questions.
Mr. Lucky, any questions?
Just give me 1 sec here, sorry. I'm just wondering, for 17, do you know what kind of capital work you disallowed?
We didn't have the breakdown in this case. What we have here is what we have show in terms of what we allowed. We certainly thought it was too high, so that's why we looked at the previous years and used those more as a reference in terms of how we stabilized it.
No further questions.
Thank you. Mr. Terry, do you have any questions? Yeah. Mr. Terry? Do you have any- sorry.
I'm sorry, I
Sorry.
should have acknowledged you there.
I just want to be sure you're being.
You've decided to average hydro. Is there a particular reason? Because I see your 2017 was 20,000. Did you find that unusual?
I would say that that is one of those things like waste and snow removal that can fluctuate year to year.
Okay.
If you see on the front picture on page 2, you'll notice that there are window air conditioners there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the simple fact that if you have a hot summer one year, you can skyrocket your electrical bill. So again, that's why we averaged it out rather than going specifically for the high year.
Okay. I think that's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Okay, I don't have any questions, thank you.
I don't know if Mr. Whitbread had any, did you?
No, I
No?
already indicated I had none.
Yeah,
Okay.
Should we take a break now?
we can take a break now.
Yeah.
So we'll
You're
take
here.
10 minutes right now.
That would be great.
Okay, we're going to resume since Mr. Navarro is available. I think he's in the middle of something right now.
No, I'm not.
You finished now?
The 10 minutes haven't expired yet.
We haven't yet. Okay,
It's,
well, just let us
we're
know
at
when
6
you need to stop for a second. and
We're at about 6 minutes still.
So just endure this.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Lucky, Mr. Navarro's gonna have to stop midway to just do his parking. He can't do it until his time runs out. So that's gonna be about 6 minutes from now, and I told him that he can interrupt us when the time comes. But we can proceed though with
Oh, I just
1060
paid one of those
Kimberly
tickets,
Avenue.
so-
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're talking about that here too.
You don't want to pay for it.
No. So we're gonna go on though with 1060 Cleveland as soon as you're ready to
Sure.
proceed.
Got a deal on a supper, but after I paid the parking, you know? It wasn't
Yeah.
that deal. 1060 Kimberly Avenue is file number 19-3809, roll number 02061369-100. This is a 6-story, 1989 building with 53 suites. We believe it's a non-profit group. That's school tax exempt, so it's class code 40, which is school tax exempt. They tell me that it's a non-profit seniors group. The third page is the site plan on Kimberly. It's in the general area of the hospital. The next page, next 2 pages, it's trying to get a street view picture. So the one, the trees kind of cover it. So the next one is an old picture. That's why the trees are so small. But you can see the building a little bit better. I guess the last go around we have a quarter revision reducing from 4.8 to 4.6. We have, we use model income. The actual is not necessarily market. We agree on income, so we can move to expenses.
Okay.
And these are model expense ratio. We have a cap rate of 5%, as this is a 1989 building. I would ask that you maintain the assessment of $5,123,000, or just over $96,000 a unit for a modern masonry high-rise building.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Okay,
If you have
Mr.
any
Navarro, any
questions.
questions?
This is providing housing to seniors.
Yes, so,
Okay.
infirm in, it could be people with disabilities, but it's,
That wouldn't be covered under the legislation, would it, for this particular case?
no,
Okay, so it likely is seniors.
most likely senior.
From your experience, have these units typically been the standard size that you would see in a typical apartment building?
Well, there's requirements. Actually, this building precedes the requirements, so I don't know what the suite sizes are.
And there is a subsidy that comes from Manitoba Housing for this?
Could be.
Those are my questions.
Mr. Rupert, any questions to the assessor?
It says 422,573 in 2015 on the mailer as a subsidy. I don't know.
Oh, I see, it does,
You see it?
yes.
Okay. Just looking for 2016.
The most recent is, it says 459,682 MHRC subsidy.
Yeah.
Total income 825.
That's 2018, right?
But typically, when dealing with housing, March 31st is the year end. So this would meet the May 1st, 2018 market value, running from March 31st to 17th to March 31st of 18.
Okay. And you, I think you said this was all model generated? Your workup?
It is.
And any changes, adjustments by you?
I didn't make any changes here, no.
Did anyone else?
I don't know.
Okay. Fine, no other questions, thank you.
Mr. Terry, do you have any questions?
Yes, I'm just interested in the land to building ratio, 4.31, that's a fairly big chunk in the ratio of those suites. Is that the normal ratio for 53 suites, or is that to consider the excess land in the sense? What I'm trying to see here is it really over and above what normally is required for 53 suites? Are you able to answer that?
Well, I can answer it that seniors projects don't need as much parking as typical apartments. I forget exactly what it is. It's one. I think it's 1.5. Don't quote me, for typical apartments, and it could be one or less for seniors. In that they may or may not have as many cars or need cars. Depends on the facility.
The purpose of my question is, when I'm looking at value, I'm also looking at how much land there is in relation to the building. So that's really why I was asking the question.
There's a fair amount of land for this building.
Well, I looked at the picture there. I was just interested in that because to me it adds to value.
Yeah, it looks like it's attached to this complex here. This complex is a mixture of care and I think assisted living.
Okay, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
I don't have any questions. Mr. Rivera?
Okay, 1060 Kimberley Avenue. On page 1 you can see a picture of it. Page 2 you can see an overhead of it. And as you can see, this is part of a larger complex of, I don't know what you would call it, assisted living.
I think what roughly half of it's care home.
Yeah, care home. And whether it's sharing parking for those, that's not understood. Again, built in 1989, 53 residential units, 42 one-bedroom units, and 11 two-bedroom units. In terms of the approach, we've used the income approach. If you turn to page it would be page 5, but it's not noted as page 5, the income summary. So our effective gross are essentially the same. The difference is the expenses. We have an expense ratio of 58.7%, expenses of $305,150. So you're going to see $51,426 on your taxes, and you're going to wonder why we chose $51,426 for taxes when the real estate taxes, the actual taxes, were $37,109. And this is for you to ponder. We've put it out there. The reason that we've put it there is because this particular property receives a tax exemption. And if we're looking at it from a fee simple perspective, that tax exemption is unlikely to be there. Now, that is our interpretation. Of course, you could interpret it any other way, but that is the reason for that being there. And it does increase the expense ratio, obviously, because the taxes, there's a difference in taxation between school tax exempt and non-school tax exempt properties. The net operating income is $214,680. Capitalization rate of 5.75. That gives us an income value of $3,733,573, or $3,734,000. And that is my presentation.
Thank you. Select any questions?
Your line item 28, caretaking. Would a typical 53 unit building have a $30,000 caretaker?
$30,000 caretaker. I would wager to say that that is because of the particular situation of this being 55 plus.
Okay, no further questions.
Mr. Terry, any questions?
Yeah, I'm looking at the expense ratio. The model is at 50.7, I would assume. Yes?
Yeah.
And you're at 58.7. It's quite a substantial difference there. It's the income you're using, the city's income, but on the expense side, you've got actually information here that backs your expenses.
Yes, so we've included the expenses for the 3 years that we've looked at.
So is that part of the package here?
Correct.
So where can you point me to what the expenses are?
So on the first page of the appendix, you can see this page right here.
Yep.
Okay. So that notes the income and expenses.
Mm-hmm.
And the first one is for 2017, or sorry, the month ending March 31st, 2018. So that would be
That's
because
the
the
one?
fiscal year
Yep.
runs from April to March in government. And then we have the previous two also. So one they've submitted electronically and two they've handwritten. Or maybe no, they haven't. Maybe it's the third one they handwritten. Yeah, the 2015 was handwritten. So it's rather small, but I can go over it with you if you'd like.
Well, I'm just trying to see what, because they're showing, I haven't, you're using all the expenses on page, on that 31/3/2018,
Correct.
and you've reconstructed that on the,
That's right. So you can see the first line item for hydro on the first
yeah,
one. It's $63,193.
mhm,
And if you look at 2017, and this is line item 20,
yeah.
63,193. So essentially, yes, we take this and reconstruct it in the summary.
Okay. And you're, on the repair and maintenance, you're using $1,382 per suite. Now, where is that on the mailer here? Maintenance?
Yeah, so repair and maintenance for the first year is $77,455.
In here, yeah, okay. And we're using 73,243. Did you do an analysis of what this maintenance and repair business is? In other words, is there capital in there, or is that?
We did not do
You did not, eh? And the wages and benefits, I think the question was posed by the assessor. So really, the taxes I understand, how you come up with that. So that's the only, you can't clarify that 77,000 further. Is that correct?
I can't.
No. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm going back to the question the assessor asked you. He asked you about caretaking, which he thought was assessed, and you said was, you thought because it's a senior's facility. I'm just wondering, why would caretaking be more expensive in a senior's facility than it would be in another facility?
I would wager to say that there's probably a little bit more turnover than you would see in a regular apartment building. There's probably more staff on hand to take care of their needs. So the cost, I think, would be slightly higher.
So you think that's an accurate figure that is shown here?
It's not present in a regular apartment building. So if you look at it from a statistical perspective, you wouldn't see the caretaking budget that you would see in a place like this.
Okay, so because of the type of building it is and because of the extra turnover, how much more do you think that added to the caretaking costs per year?
I couldn't say.
Couldn't say, you couldn't put a dollar figure on it? Would it be more like 20,000 maybe, or maybe less?
No, I mean, it really, it would be higher than normal, but I wouldn't say, I couldn't put a number on it.
Thank you.
You know, what I would say is, again, they're being fairly consistent in documenting, and so they're documenting. It's likely caretaking wages, so we're probably talking staff members on hand.
Okay, so it's, you know, so you're saying it says wages, benefits, and then
Yeah.
caretaking is in brackets, so that's maybe a
Yeah.
description of part of what it is.
Yeah.
It may not be built in. Okay, fair enough. Thank you. Have you taken care of your parking?
Yes, I have.
Oh,
Thanks.
okay.
Oh, yes. Snuck it in.
Just give me a minute then.
Good.
Oh, you can do it by phone.
I did.
I thought it was a method. Where did you go? How did you do that? You can do it by phone, I can't.
Okay. So we'll next deal with 426 Kingsford Avenue. Again, Mr. Lecker, when you're ready to proceed.
Um, 426 Kingsford Avenue is file number 19-3813, roll number 040004888500. This is Kingsford House Co-op. Another school tax exempt property, seniors nonprofit. So similar issues as the previous. We have I call it 2.5 story. The actual age is 1968 with an effective age of 1990. There's 75 suites. We have a site plan. This is Kingsford and Rothesay. Street view picture. Here's another one. This is the 18 decision of $5,087,000 is appealed by the city of Winnipeg. We have a suite mix of 54 one-bedrooms, 21 two-bedrooms, for a total of 75 units. We're using market rent for overall income of $770 per unit. Model income and expenses. That you maintain the assessment of $5,931,000, which is $79,000 a unit. If you have any questions, I'm happy to try and answer them.
Mr. Merrill.
Yes. This is, again, another non-profit seniors housing complex. It's also a cooperative, correct? It's a different type of tenure. Do you think that that adds any additional risk to this property?
Well, risk or not, these are supposed to be dealt with as market value. I don't know how you'd quantify the risk.
Now, you've included in your package a 12 months ending 9/30/2016 as your supplementary information. Now, You didn't include the period ending 9/30/2017. Are you aware if this building receives subsidies also?
They receive subsidies. Yeah, I'm not sure why I have these years here.
There's no additional questions.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, do you have any questions for the assessor?
Yes, I just missed a bit of information. What did you say the last assessment was on this property? Okay.
There's a pending municipal board,
Well, that's where it's written.
and it's $5,087,000.
And it's pending, and that's the city
That's the
appeal?
city appealing.
Okay. I'm sorry I missed that. I guess it's in the sheet here. It's hard to say when you look at the mailer is 16, so I don't know how good that is.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not sure why I don't have.
So I guess I'll see what the appellant has to say, because I'm not gonna like something current. But co-op, nonprofit, senior, you're at 53.48 on your expense ratio. I don't know what you were in the previous one. Although this is...
This one, it would be a lower, we've obviously lowered the quality and we're...
Well, it's a 1990
Right, but,
building masonry. The last one was 1989.
but we have different quality levels we put them at, and this one, the rent is a lot lower,
Oh,
and the expenses are higher.
okay.
So the rent,
Yeah, because you were in the 50s on the last one, and this one you're at 53.
right, but I
Okay.
think it was closer, the rent on that one was, 839, here we're at 707.
Okay, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Ms. McBride? Nothing. So, you have the building actually, I guess, updated to 1990, I guess, with renovations made, and you still have a 5.3% cap rate. Why? Seems like it's low, it seems it's a high cap rate considering the age of the building with renovations, with your first page.
I don't think that the,
You think it's 1968 that prevails?
right,
Okay.
well, what I was just about to say is, I think if you look at the site plan, there's an addition.
Oh,
So I think the actual building is 1968, and the addition is 1990.
Okay,
Because if it was the effective date of 1990, the second line would be just 1990.
I see, okay.
So it's a 1968 is the driving factor for the
That's fair.
5.3 cap.
Okay, so this question comes up from a question that Mr. Nader asked you on the last one, seniors housing, or an argument that he's maintaining. And I haven't seen his paper on this one yet, but I'm sure it's going to be the same thing, indicating that if the property was up for sale, any potential buyer who was not single tax exempt using it for another purpose would have to look at a higher tax rate, and that should come off the net income. And having asked that question, is the model take that into account?
Well, maybe I'll elaborate a bit on that.
Okay.
I was at the municipal board on this issue, and it was contested, and we had lawyers on both sides. Or at least we had a lawyer. And we agreed to allow taxes as the market, as long as all the other parameters were market. So we had found previously that market taxes were used, but other items were in the expenses were not market. There was additional management, you have on-site managers, you have higher, for the seniors, you have higher professional fees, they have boards, all these kind of things.
Right.
So we agreed that as long as everything was consistent at market income, market expenses, that we would allow the Class Code 20 tax.
Okay, so the question I have though is, and I think maybe you answered it, but I'm not sure. So the model then, using model everything, would also have model taxes in it, not,
The model
not,
would...
it wouldn't have, school tax exempt taxes reflected.
I don't pretend to know exactly all the details of the model, but we don't have, this would be dealt with as though it was market. The model would have market income and expenses driven in there.
So a way of compensating wouldn't be by taking the market NOI and deducting from it the additional cost of taxes then, because it's already reflected in that model.
Well, like I said, everything should be market. So if the market taxes, market repair and maintenance, market income, all the way along.
I'm just trying to, decide how I deal with it. So.
And the issue came up with caretaking.
Yeah.
And a typical 50-unit building, or in this case, they would, the caretaking would be drastically. So again, as I said, taxes are fine, but that's one component. Everything else should be marked.
May I direct the question to the assessor?
Well, when I'm finished, if you have a question that arose from something that I had brought up, I'll let you do so. And obviously, you two can give us your argument, your position on it as well, obviously. But so just to have it clarified then, the model that the city has used is a typical building that is not subsidized, that would be renting out suites at market price to tenants who are renting at market, would reflect market expenses for operating the property based on the model, and everything the city has in the model.
It would all be
and would also include the normal taxes, because it wouldn't reflect the situation here, which has school taxes in it.
Right.
Okay, you answered my question, thank you. If you have a redirect, go ahead.
If this property were to sell, would the situation in place continue? So would a potential purchaser be taking on all of these risks associated with the cooperative, the clientele, all of that? Would that sell along with the property? In other words, can you just convert it?
Mr. I don't think that approach, I think the approach really is, what is the property worth as if it were to be sold, to use the normal course of operation. And you don't look at the fact that it might be subsidized or anything else to arrive at the value.
I don't think you can separate the two.
Well, I think you have to for the purpose of taxes.
Oh, for the purposes of taxes, yes.
I'd like to answer the question.
Go ahead.
Housing has and can sell their properties. This group, I won't know how to pronounce it properly, pretend to, but they're running it, and the parent is Manitoba Housing. Manitoba Housing has and will continue to sell properties. 185 Smith, which we've all been through, is their flagship. and that property is gonna be market, all market. Whatever happens to this building, and I would contend that as long as it's run and it's operating fine, it'll continue as it is. If for whatever reason, if housing decided to surplus it and sell it, we can't predict. I can't predict what things could happen or how it could operate. But I was told by the chairman of the municipal board many years ago when doing Manitoba housing properties that they should be dealt with as market, and that's how we do it.
So there are no exceptions to that rule?
Well, you know, if there's side agreements or there's agreements or this and that, they can be broken, they can be changed. We can't sit here and pretend to know how certain aspects of how this place is run would be affected if somebody bought it. Assuming it ever sold.
I don't know if I want to open up this can of worms at this point.
Well, you have the opportunity now of going forward with your evidence, and you can open up whatever can of worms you want to.
Again,
do so.
the assessor brought up 185 Smith Street, and I'm sure the assessor is well aware that that property sold because its operating agreement expired. So the province no longer had a need for it. It wanted to sell that property, but it's because the agreement expired that it was allowed to sell that property.
But there's other properties that the agreements didn't expire.
I would like to see an example of that.
You know, I think the position is that the buildings can sell, and if they do sell, they will sell at market. And we have to evaluate them for tax purposes as properties that are operated in the normal course of residential housing. That's my position. So we understand it anyway, but if you convince me otherwise, go ahead. Anyway, it's your argument now.
Okay. We have a property.
I have a redirect.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, based on questions.
Did you start yours?
No, I didn't.
No.
It's just that I just happened to see that you're on the right page here, on page 4. You're showing the rent at 77086. Okay? But when I look at your gross potential rent, you're at 693,774, which is substantially higher. So I don't know, I just picked that up now, divided by 75. That's $925 per, oh, maybe I'm not doing this properly, but $925 per suite? Is that correct? Or I'm not doing this properly. Maybe I'm not doing the 12 months. So I
No,
don't.
Divided by 12. Yeah.
Okay, but,
770.
oh, that's
Times
why.
75 times
Yeah,
12.
if your number
Okay,
divided by
that's,
12.
that's what I'm doing wrong. Okay, thank you.
I just know the numbers, they work.
Sometimes the brain is a little too slow, but that's what works. Thank you,
There's been
sir.
errors in
It's
there
okay.
before, so.
Yeah, well, I just happened to check it.
Oh, you did, okay, good.
Okay, Mr. Navarro.
Okay, I have a 426 Kingsford Avenue. On page 1, you can see a good shot of the building, overhead on page 2, and a street view on page 2. And we can go to the actually very last page of the package. That's where the income summary is hidden. So we've gone with a potential of 678.60. we've added miscellaneous income to that, that is $612,025. In terms of expenses, our expense ratio is 58.1, again, the taxes and, you know, the wages and caretaking that we've talked about. We have a net operating income of 256, 252, and a capitalization rate of 6%. We have a year built of 1971. I don't know what it's, I know that the city's position is that you're taking this as 1968. That's why the cap rate is reflective of that, right? I didn't verify this year built.
I'm looking on page 2 in the site plan, and this looks like the addition on the back, and that's probably where they put the elevators in. Because this looks like
It's lower, right?
but there's also at either end there's a part that goes up.
Yeah.
Typically, this building wouldn't have had elevators, but for seniors, they would put them in. I've never been in the building, but I'm just assuming that. And these buildings at either end could suggest elevators.
Okay.
Sorry.
Let's try. We have a year built of 1971. That is the reason that we put a 6% capitalization rate on it. That still fits into that that chart that we have.
Okay.
So our groupings are 1960 to 1974 and 6%. That is the reason why we chose 6%. That is my presentation. I'm open for questions.
Ms. Lucky, any questions?
Your income, how did you arrive at that?
So we have included the 2017, 2016, and 2015.
So the auction one?
I believe so. Just wait. I don't think that that's actually the correct hint. So in this case, I think I would have to defer to the assessor's income. I'm looking at it, and it actually should be the residential apartment income plus the rent supplement. The rent supplement is the top-up essentially for the rents. So, for example, for 2017, it actually should be 593,073 plus 82,466. that would be 675, 539. So the first one is off right off the bat.
That was the cities.
And the next one is 571, 467 plus 80,121. That is 651, 588. The third one is 642, 747. So I get an average of about 656,000 for the rent, based on the actuals. And we've gone with a stabilized of 670 and 860. We've actually stabilized higher than what the actuals are suggesting. But I can't answer for this. I'm okay with using the assessor's net operating income.
Mr. Lucky, any other questions?
Okay, so in that case, will be revising it?
$5,239,200. So $5,239,000.
Okay, no further questions?
Mr. Luker, any questions?
No?
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, any questions?
I'm okay, thank you.
Thanks. So I had some questions, but if they're using the city's NOI, I don't have them anymore, so it's just a question of cap rate then.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, the next matter on the agenda is 70 Donwood Drive, and when you're ready, Mr. Luker.
Thank you. 70 Donwood Drive is file number 19-3610. Roll number 0400190550. We have single building, 3 stories. Built in 1973, there's 50 suites. Page 2, there's no recent sales we have. And I've included pictures. There's a picture, completely renovated 1 and 2 bedroom suites. This is from street view, so I don't know when this picture was taken. Again, street view front picture. This is a site plan, following page. This is on Donwood. Tracking on a think it's Safeway, it's across Donwood from the shopping complex at the corner of Henderson and Chief Pegulas. I think it's Safeway. Following page we have 2018, it was reduced from 5.7 to 5.693. Our NOI is actually lower than the stabilized actual of the applicant. So we would accept their NOI and our cap rate of 5.3%. Anyway, they're very close. This model is doing its job.
Okay, any questions, Mr. Navarro? Mr. Terry, any questions?
No, thank you.
Mr. Whitbread, any questions?
No, thanks.
And I don't have any either. Okay, Mr. Navarro?
As the assessor has said, we're very close on the net operating income, and we've used 3 years of stabilized income expenses here. The effective gross is $538,962. That is with laundry, parking, and miscellaneous income. We have an expense ratio of 41%, $221,081. Gives us a net operating income of $317,881. And capitalized at 6%, we have a value of $5,298,000. Rounded.
Any questions? Mr.
No
Navarro?
questions.
Mr. Terry, any questions?
No questions.
Whitbread, any questions?
No, thank you.
And I don't either, so it's just a cap rate. Thank you. Okay. 1030 Brazier Street or Brazier Street? Brazier?
Here.
Brazier?
Brazier?
Brazier? That's the one. It's like the hamburger.
Not saying I'm right,
I
but
think you are actually. I think it's like the hamburger.
we'll go with that.
And,
Yeah,
Brazier.
that's safer.
So, file number 19-3520, roll number 020315100000. We have one building, 3 stories. Built in 1964, and we've, based on renovations, we've upped the effective age to 1979. Page 2, we have no sales of record. I would call this the site plan East Adonin, close to Henderson. This page, there's a street view sign, renovated 1 and 2 bedrooms. Street view shot. We have a model, looks like model parameters. Our NOI is actually lower than the applicants. I would ask that you maintain the assessment of $5,567,000, which is $132,500 per unit. If you have any questions, I'll try and answer them.
Mr. Mayor, any questions? Mr. Whitbread, any questions?
Is that expense ratio model driven? What's it attached to the real expenses?
It's probably model. It's the reason the expenses are so low is because it's probably bumped up. It's for this age and style of building, with the renovations, it's higher quality. So that you can see that the average overall income is high, so the expense ratio is going to be lower. And with the renovations, you don't have as much expenses. So that's why the ratio is so low.
But it's still model driven.
It's a different parameters in the model.
Yeah, okay, thank you. And no adjustments to the model from you.
I didn't adjust any of
Okay.
these.
Thanks. No questions?
Mr. Terry, do you have any questions?
No questions.
So my one question is, I see that there's 42 suites and only 35 parking spots. Would that not affect the cap rate? Insofar as the fact that people, you'd have to find 7 owners who didn't have cars, and it's not really right on a bus route, it's a block away from Wilson Highway. What I'm suggesting is, because of that, even though it has been renovated, it still has remnants of an older building before you have those parking requirements, and maybe fairly should have a 5.3% cap rate, even on the city's basis.
It doesn't need the same parking. I was trying to count here because the parking
Oh, we try to kind of parking.
isn't always.
I was looking what the report you had was.
Yeah, the parking isn't always perfect. They're saying 35. We're saying 35.
Yeah,
Most likely 35.
most likely.
Yeah, it's below current standard.
Yes, you'd have to find seven tenants who didn't have their car.
Right.
So it might make it a little hard to rent out than a normal building that is not the
Right.
parking
Or people
parameters.
could park on the street.
Yeah. Well, yeah, in the winter that is not always easy.
It's not ideal.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mayor?
Again, we've gone with what they've actually reported here over 3 years. The potential income is $447,108. Factoring for vacancy and additional income, we have an effective gross income of $456,056. So the model has slightly reported higher income. In terms of the expenses, again, these are stabilized over 3 years. We have stabilized expense ratio, and I have to say in this one, there's not much doubt. I mean, you can see the consistency there over the 3 years. So we've set it at 37.5 with a slightly higher NOI. Again, this is 1979 building, so we've assigned a 5.75 capitalization rate to it.
Mr. Luck, any questions? No. Mr. Ripper, any questions? No. Good. Mr. Gary?
So we're right on the edge of the 1980, which would be 575, right? On your cap rate chart?
Well,
You're using 1960, 1979 at 6, and then on 1980 you're up at 575. So right on the edge, right?
I'm just going to refer to the cap rate first. And it's somewhere around here. I lost it. Okay, so, well, the cutoffs are 75 or 80 to 97. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
okay.
we're on the cusp. And that's why I decided to flip it to the higher one.
Okay, thank you. I have no other question.
And I don't have any. So. Last matter on the agenda then is.
Is that the last one?
Yeah, 30 Downwood Drive.
30 Donwood Drive is, file number 19-3609, phone number 0400190410. We have a 3-story suites, built in 1973. The site plan, just by the other, obviously, Donwood. Street view, picture showing renovated, and we have mono parameters which are very close to the applicants, and we have a cap rate of 5.2%. So the other one on Donwood, the effective age wasn't changed, nor is this one. But anyway, I would ask that you maintain our assessment of $5,926,000 or $118,500 per unit.
Thank you.
The rest is just income and expense data.
Yeah, Mr. Rivera, any questions?
No questions.
Mr. Terry, any questions?
I'm just looking, sir.
I think you're done.
I'm just trying to compare the mailer to the work up that's all. So it gives me a bit of time here, 571.
Mr. Whitman, in the meantime, do you have any questions?
No, I'm good, thank you.
No, I'm gonna be okay. I was looking at the mailer and I think it's a bit lower, so
Okay,
on the income side.
I have no questions either, so
Thank
Mr.
you.
Rivera, you can go ahead.
Okay, I'll ask you to turn to the summary report after page 7. And on page 7, we have the cap rate chart. So again, 3 years that we've looked at here. We've accounted for 5.1% terms of vacancy. We've added laundry and parking income and miscellaneous income, giving us an effective gross of 541,502. Expenses of 43.5% or 235,699, giving us a net operating income of 305,802, to which we've applied a 6% capitalization rate, or 5,096,703, or 5,097,000. My presentation.
Any questions, Mr. Lucky?
No. No questions.
Mr. Whitman, any questions?
Nothing?
Mr. Terry?
So thank you.
So basically, your NOIs are very, very close, and it's mostly cap rate. Okay, thank you. That completes the agenda. We'll render decisions as soon as we can.
Thank you.